Does Hogwarts Legacy have any shot to win Game of the Year? No, I don't think so.
Shut up! Shut up!
Now wait. Before you smash that dislike button, let me explain why, and also tell you why I think Hogwarts Legacy is going to do something even better, even greater than winning Game of the Year. So I ran a poll here on our community page that more than 5,000 of you voted in, asking, what's your Game of the Year so far? We had Diablo 4 at 2%, Starfield at 12%, Tears of the Kingdom at 25%, and Baldur's Gate 3 in the lead at 37%. 24% of you, which would be third place and just behind Tears of the Kingdom, voted for the other category. The comments were filled with responses of Hogwarts Legacy, a little title called Hogwarts Legacy, and yes, more Hogwarts Legacy. Now, this isn't too big a surprise considering all the Hogwarts Legacy videos I've posted here on the channel, and how many of you watching probably subscribed here just because of our coverage for that game. But even so, I found myself a little surprised to see so many still saying it was Game of the Year. Then again, to be totally fair here, the poll question never asks what you think will win Game of the Year. It asks for your personal Game of the Year. Now, Hogwarts Legacy should absolutely be recognized for resonating with so many people and even reaching a vast number of people who aren't traditional gamers. Some people even bought a console just for this game. I know that for a fact from hearing from you guys here in the comments, but also people in my real life. My wife is a nurse, and she worked with some fellow nurses who were big Harry Potter fans who literally bought PlayStation 5s for this game. And that's something I think the industry as a whole hasn't really given Hogwarts Legacy and Avalanche enough credit for. They had an absolutely monumental task of making a game that would resonate with so many different audiences with vastly different expectations, and for the most part, they did an incredible job at that. So if Hogwarts Legacy is your personal favorite game of the year, heck, if it's your favorite game ever made, that's totally fine and 100% your opinion. If we pull back a bit though, to look at the industry as a whole, I don't see Hogwarts Legacy having much of a chance. Frankly, I'm not even sure it will see many nominations. I think it's important for me here on the channel to try and remain at least somewhat objective, and I say somewhat because it's pretty much impossible for someone to be completely objective when it comes to this stuff. After all, it's all based on opinions anyway. And don't get me wrong, I love Hogwarts Legacy. It's one of my favorite games ever made. Covering that game, posting all our theories, building the community we have here, it's something I'll never forget. When it comes to evaluating the game though, from a critical perspective, actually think back to the Harry Potter series as a whole. It's my personal favorite book series ever. For what it means to me when I read them in my life and what it still means to me to this day. I doubt anything will ever be able to top that. That experience of reading those 7 books for the first time and everything that went with it in terms of the fandom. But do I think critically that it's the best written book series ever? Well, no. There are certainly works with more eloquent prose, stronger characters, and some with even more imaginative worlds, which I know is hard to think about. And I feel totally comfortable acknowledging that and at the same time saying, I don't care. It's still my favorite series ever, and I would pick it over anything else. So is Hogwarts Legacy, though, one of the absolute best overall games of the year when compared to the others? Well, that's where things start to get dicey, because this year has just been absolutely insane for top-notch video games. If we look at the Game Awards description for Game of the Year, it reads, quote, recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. And 2023 has widely been recognized as one of the best years in the history of video games. It's downright jaw-dropping, guys. I mean, look at this. We got Tears of the Kingdom, Jedi Survivor, Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, Pikmin 4, and Starfield all in the same year. But hold on, that's not it. We also had the remakes of Dead Space, Resident Evil 4, and Metroid Prime, games that were already recognized as some of the best ever made, and now we had these top-notch remakes. Then there's also Street Fighter 6, Mortal Kombat 1, Sea of Stars, Armored Core 6, Remnant 2, and, well, I think by now you get the picture. What you might be surprised to learn, however, is that every single one of those titles I just mentioned, every single one of them, actually scored higher than Hogwarts Legacy based on review scores alone. What's insane is that Legacy was no slouch. It ended up finishing with a Metascore of 84 and a fan score of 8.6, both of which are very respectable numbers. Now, as I was doing the research for this video, one interesting note is that I found a lot of those games I mentioned that even though they scored higher in the critical reviews, Hogwarts Legacy was still doing much better in the fan reviews, so that's something also to take into account. But the fact that so many games ranked above it on the critical side, I think is simply a testament to the sheer amount of quality games that were released in 2023. So the nominees for Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, and I do think it's important to note that many sites and journalists do their own Game Awards, but for Keighley's selection process, the nominees are, quote, chosen by an international jury of over 100 global media and influencer outlets, selected for their history of critical video game evaluation. Now, that was last year's. They don't have it posted for this year just yet. It may be slightly different, but I think it'll be close to the same. Last year, the Game Awards had 6 nominees for Game of the Year: A Plague Tale Requiem, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and of course, the ultimate winner, Elden Ring. This year, I would expect that Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3 are absolute locks to receive Game of the Year nominations. And if I'm being totally honest here, I think one of those ends up taking home the victory. Right now, even though I haven't played it, I think I'd give a slight edge to Baldur's Gate 3 based on what I've been hearing for how much it pushes the genre forward. But then what about those other 4 nominations? Does Hogwarts Legacy have a chance to sneak in there? We also have to remember we still have several months left in the year with heavy hitters like Spider-Man 2, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Lords of the Fallen, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Alan Wake 2. I could see any of those scoring very well and getting into the Game of the Year conversation. For a moment though, let's just pretend the year ended right now. Would Hogwarts Legacy even then have a chance to sneak into one of those other 4 nominations? Honestly, right now, I think it probably should. Remember, the nominations aren't based purely on review score. After all, Stray had a Metacritic rating of 83 and A Plague Tale Requiem 82. For what it's worth, Elden Ring scored a 96, the highest of them all, and was the eventual winner. Then again, in my humble opinion, I think Elden Ring is one of the best games ever made. And then we also have to keep in mind the competition wasn't quite as fierce in 2022. So of all these games we mentioned so far, I do think we should immediately roll out the remakes. Heck, Metroid Prime is one of my favorite games ever made, and the remake is fantastic. But I still think for an annual award, you should focus on recognizing original games released that year, unless there's just something so incredibly new and different being done on a remake for an old game. Fighting games are probably a bit too niche for the overall Game of the Year. I've also seen a lot of love for Remnant, Sea of Stars, and Armored Core. If it was up to me personally picking, I'd definitely have Hogwarts Legacy in there, at least for a nomination. If I'm making a prediction though on what will actually be nominated, I think it's going to miss the cut. Now, despite all of this, no matter how the Game of the Year voting goes, Hogwarts Legacy is highly likely to finish 2023 in the #1 spot in at least one category, and maybe the most important one of all, sales numbers. And this, my friends, if they managed to do this, would be a truly incredible feat. The last time a game not named Call of Duty topped the US sales charts for a full year was 2018. The title to do it? Oh, just a little game called Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, it's been a while since we received official numbers for Hogwarts Legacy, but every time there's even a small update, it's always more info pointing to the fact that the game is still selling incredibly well. Back in July, we had this article from GamesIndustry.biz, which wrote, Hogwarts Legacy is comfortably the biggest selling game for the first half of the year across Europe. Its sales are 69% bigger than what Elden Ring managed over the same period, which was the best-selling game during the first half of 2022. They've also been running promotions recently, discounting the game, and it seems that those are absolutely having their intended effect, and sales are surging. There was a 214% spike in sales on the Xbox Series X and S with those recent deals. Now, in terms of the official numbers that we received, we know that Hogwarts Legacy sold 12 million copies in its first 2 weeks alone. Then in May, the Warner Bros. Discovery CEO David Zaslav said the game had sold over 15 million units, earning more than 1 billion in sales. And just to try and put these numbers into context, because I think especially people new to gaming may not realize how incredible this actually is, here's a list of the best-selling games on the PS4 from the NPD Group back in 2019. Now, it's important to remember the PS5 was not out yet, but the PS4 era was kind of winding down here. And at the time of that posting in 2019, we know Spider-Man had sold just north of 13 million copies. That's right, 13 million, and it was the 6th best-selling PS4 game of all time. We now know, as of June 2022, the Spider-Man series on PlayStation has reached 33 million in sales, but that includes the original release on PS4, plus the remastered edition on PS5, and even the spin-off game Miles Morales. And that 15 million number for Legacy is months old at this point. We still haven't received an update on any new numbers since the PS4 and Xbox One versions released back in May. Plus, they're still planning to release the title on Nintendo Switch in November of this year, and according to WB themselves, they're expecting even bigger things from the Switch version given its massive install base. My point in all of this is that I actually think Hogwarts Legacy as a franchise and what it's done in terms of reaching so many people may actually be a bit underrated in the industry. This is a title that became WB's 5th 1 billion plus gaming franchise, joining only Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, the Lego games, and DC. So can any game catch Hogwarts Legacy here in 2023? Honestly, I think there are probably only 2 games with a shot at surpassing it this year. Spider-Man 2, because there is so much hype for that game, pretty much anybody with a PS5 is going to be picking it up at some point. And then of course, Call of Duty. The thing about Spider-Man 2 though is it's only releasing on PS5, so it's going to have quite the uphill climb to catch Legacy, which by the end of the year will be available on every major platform. You know they're going to be doing plenty of holiday sales as well, which is only going to further increase that number. It will be fascinating to see how the numbers end up shaking out for the rest of the year and when WB finally decides to share more official numbers with us. I gotta be honest with you guys, not only is Hogwarts Legacy going to be one of the best-selling games of the year, I think it's on track to being one of the best-selling games of all time. And with all of this incredible success, there has to be more from Hogwarts Legacy coming, right? DLC DLC, sequel? Well, we're actually still waiting on an official announcement for a possible Hogwarts Legacy DLC or sequel. We do know the team at Avalanche gave a surprise announcement about something that we can expect from Hogwarts Legacy later this year. I explained what that is in the video on the left side of your screen now, so check that one out next. As always, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.